I have to say the views and opinions of Randy Pratt do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Kristen Pratt, my family, Master Books, Newly Publishing Group, any of its subsidiaries, or investors, just so you know. Hannah Madeline, hey, I have a few questions today from multiple kiddos. We are using Master Books for all subjects. For my 7th grader, I got him language lessons for living education and writing strands. So far, he's doing well with the work. We're only 1 week in. What books would you all recommend for personal choice of reading outside the Master Books library? I'm struggling to find him books he likes, even when pursuing our own library. Okay. 7th grader, doing both. I would find biographies. There probably will be book lists out there, or our book list out there for language lessons or that type of thing. I think we do have some listed, and in the back of some of the language books, there's a list, I think. But I would go with biographies. 7th grade, man, that's a perfect time to learn about people like George Mueller, Dwight Moody, Hudson Taylor, who's a good female, the Saint, her last name is Saint. There's her, there's Elizabeth Elliot, yes, Rachel Saint. There are so many good ones for those type of things. There are some companies that have leveled type readers for biographies. We have the What a Character series. We have Legends of Faith coming out, which is really good. Amy Carmichael's a really good read. I think that those are some really good, some good places to go, because especially if they're written kind of like living history type books where they're interesting and engaging. But like the most impactful book, there were 2 that I read. One book was called Little Maid of Israel. I think Sarah G is here. Do you remember Little Maid of Israel? Who would think that would have been a guy's book? She was, it was kind of the man who had to go cleanse himself in the river, and she was his maid. And so it's just kind of a really cool book. It had a big impact on me. For some reason, Little Maid of Israel was like a huge thing. And the second was George Mueller. That's stepping out in faith, all of these things. I remember somebody once came to me, and we had 9 kids, and she had started a Christian school like the one I went to and graduated from. And she's like, 9 kids. I can't believe someone would have 9 kids. And I'm like, you have some nerve, lady. I told her that. I said, you have some nerve. I said, you guys start these schools and you gave us books that inspired us to trust the Lord at His Word, to step out in faith, and to do the stuff. And then when we do it, you judge us because you don't have the courage to do the stuff. And I said, I read all those literature books that we had to read, and so shame on me for believing that when God says to a family to be fruitful and multiply, and that blessed is the man whose quiver is full, that His word is truth. And so I went on a little rant here, but there's so many times in our life where it's like those books that I read when I was in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade had the biggest impact on me and the trajectory of who I am today. So that was a long way to go. Oh, Little One Maid of Israel. That's funny. Yes, it is, Sarah. Good. Heaven only knows what book I just recommended. God Smuggler was a big one, wasn't it? Brian says. Yeah, that was a big one for me too. Rachel, 11-year-old son, desperately wants to be able to read his Bible on his own while making strides in reading is slow going and difficult for him. I'm scared he's always going to struggle with his reading, and it's going to discourage him to the point of giving up. How do I help and encourage him with being able to read his Bible on his own? He doesn't want a children's version. He wants to be a version that he can use at church, which is a legacy standard. Good question, Rachel. One of the things that I did when I was pastoring was I changed to the NLT. I understand the objections, but NLT is typically a 3rd grade level. most adults read at a 3rd to 5th grade level, honestly. It was a far easier translation to read than some of the other. Now, Legacy Standard it's my favorite new translation. Legacy Standard, if you don't know, is a kind of a corrected throwback to the 1995 version of New American Standard Version. I absolutely love this Bible and this translation, so know that. But the Holy Spirit is amazing in that when we read His Word, He can convey messages to us. And I think some of it is that some of the translations are designed to be written at a higher level, so it can be difficult. An audio Bible may be important too. You could maybe get an audio Bible and listen to the audio Bible at the same time as he's reading the physical version, so he can kind of follow along in that way. I think that can be important. The other one that you could do is passages, kind of taking certain passages and having him just study those passages. But my inclination, if one of my students is struggling, one of my inclinations is going to be to find a translation. It doesn't have to be a children's Bible. A lot of children's Bibles aren't really meant, they're just like King James only with a cartoon on it. They're not actually like a children's a dumbed down version of the Bible. So the translation is what translations, like King James Version. A lot of people love King James Version. That's great, but the King James Version is designed for grades 12 and up, at 12th grade reading level and up, so comprehension is hard. And so you can also cross-reference things, or I don't think I have one here, but I have Bibles that actually have 2 translations in them. So one would be like, I love the Amplified Bible, and the New American Standard. So I have a Bible that has both translations in it in the same place. And so I can read the easier one and then use the Amplified. I think Amplified is easier because I've spent so much time using it. But that's kind of how maybe I would recommend that. But I think the audio is a great way as well to listen to the Bible and understand the cadence and the way the words are used, and then maybe listen to it and then read it and see if you could develop that a little bit. Okay. Favorite translation. I think that's open to a lot. I think there are Bibles that recently have become very popular that the translators change all the time. I don't really like that. I think ESV is one of those translations that if you look at it, it seems like we get changes a lot, and it's not necessarily changes I would agree with. I do like the Legacy Standard Version. I think the New American Standard, the 1995 version was good. I think then some changes got made. I love Legacy Standard, throws back to what I think was a very solid language Bible that is more word for word. I love the Amplified Bible. For some reason, I found one that my grandfather had, started reading it when I was little, and it just kind of became my favorite. I love that it has a lot more words probably than it should on some things, but it really helped me understand more. So I love Amplified. I think King James is good, New King James. I don't get as much from reading them. And so translation-wise, I think I understand why people like them. When I read the word, for me, I feel like I kind of need to feel like I'm speaking my language. And so that's why, and of course I believe in apologetics. I believe in examining the word and studying the word and knowing what other translations say, all of that. So I don't want to undermine that. NLT will always have a special place. Now NLT is a paraphrase. And there are times, like even the Message Bible, can you believe it? I'm saying this. It's just fun to read, right? Like, hey, Jesus went to Burger King, he got 3 Big Macs and 2 large fry, and he fed 5,000 dudes hanging out with him. It doesn't really say that, but that's kind of what it feels like. And sometimes it's just fun to read a passage in it and then to study it in another translation. So I think my favorite translation at the present is going to be the Legacy Standard Bible. I do like the Henry Morris Study Bible because I really like Henry's notes. Henry was an academic, and some of his insights I think are just brilliant, and so I really enjoyed the Henry Morris Study Bible as well.